The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Welcome back to the Nova Society, a space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by our regular panel, Dr. Scott Gershwer and Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon. Together, we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines, the history, and the big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what the panel has for us today.
Today we have an email from Paul, who writes to us from San Francisco, California. And Paul writes, I'm seeing reports that CBS has fired Scott Pelley for speaking out, and honestly, none of this surprises me anymore. Yeah, same here, Paul. Ever since Bari Weiss took over CBS following the Ellison purchase, the network has drifted further and further from anything resembling unbiased reporting. 60 Minutes show I've watched for decades has been gutted. And of course, Stephen Colbert signed off from The Late Show last week. At this point, it feels obvious. The Ellisons have openly aligned themselves with Trump, and yet another major source of information has been compromised. For a group that constantly claims their voices are being silenced, Trump's allies now control CBS, OANN, Newsmax, and of course Fox. So my question to the panel is this: who can we trust now? When Trump-aligned donors are buying up major media outlets, Disney, Paramount, and more, and when the FCC is pressuring anyone who doesn't fall in line, is there any outlet left that we can rely on? And looking ahead, what does this mean for the post-Trump landscape? Is there any realistic path to reversing this takeover of the information ecosystem? Yeah, those are excellent questions, Paul. Actually, I never even thought about that. I'm wondering if there will be a post-Trump landscape, to be honest. Mark, Scott, what do you have? Is it OAN or OANN? I'm not even sure.
I think it's One American News Network.
Oh, it is OANN.
So it is NN, yeah.
It is OAN. OAN. Okay. OANN. Thank you. Okay. I don't know. Is there any you mean an American news outlet?
Gosh.
I don't even think so.
You better find good podcasters out there. Listen to us.
Yeah, I guess. I guess maybe we're a news outlet now. I don't know. PBS is still pretty reliable. They are a fairly reliable group. I'm not going to say MS Now is, because they're way left leaning.
Reuters?
Yeah.
What I'm looking at is, as far as the things you find on TV. Because that's what, there's plenty of print that you can rely on.
But I see Reuters on YouTube, but I don't have a TV, so I'll let you go ahead.
If there is a Reuters channel, I don't know where it is.
If they're on YouTube.
Okay. I don't know.
Really? Okay.
Reuters, usually it's print, but whatever. But as far as, mass media is concerned, to rely on, again, PBS is good. MS Now, no. CNN, all depends on who's going to end up owning CNN, I think. And that looks like that might be changing hands. There really isn't, like the major ones, there really isn't anybody. As I've always told everybody, I listen to the Germans, I listen to the French, I listen to the British, I listen to the Australians. The Italians have a channel out there. Al Jazeera actually is a pretty good source. That's about all. You got to get out of the United States, as far as if you want some reliable news. Now, of course, there's print, and there's plenty of print. Huh?
CBC. The Canadians?
The Canadians, yeah, you can listen to the Canadians. That's fine, too. Like I said, the print, you've got a lot of options. But even the print, it all depends on who you go to. Scott knows more about the New York. The Post New York Post is more conservative, right?
Yeah, it's a Rupert Murdoch paper.
Oh, okay. All right. Same thing with Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
But then you got
Although-
New York Times.
The Wall Street Journal, you can trust their news reporting, but their editorial page is all conservatives.
Right. Yeah.
And not just conservatives. I mean, they're Trumpers.
Yeah. So,
for the most part.
It's a limited field out there, guys, and the big field is go international. But be careful. Deutsche Welle is considered to be liberal. There is a conservative outlet in Germany. There's a very conservative outlet in Germany. So you've got to kind of try not to find that that echo chamber. Find one that challenges your ideas a little bit. That's my advice onto that. What do you think, Scott?
So I think this is part of a larger trend, and Trump is following the Orban playbook, and I'm not really sure that Orban wasn't following the Putin playbook, and that Putin wasn't, or the Steve Bannon playbook. You can go back a ways now, a few years, if you remember the trouble that Trump had with Jorge Ramos from Univision.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm saying terribly. I apologize to everybody for my pronunciation of. Ramos would give him a hard time during I guess it was 2016 campaign, and Trump would have his thug, what's his name, kick him out of the press conferences, and would never call on him and stuff like that. And then Univision was bought by a Trump friendly company, and they fired Univision, and they fired Jorge Ramos, and they really changed a great deal of their focus point, which probably could account for the fact that Trump did better with Hispanic voters in 2024 than he had in 2020 or 2016. And so I think that you really need to be careful about these outlets. Now, I may be mistaken about this, but I could have sworn I was on an airplane yesterday, and so I had intermittent Wi-Fi on the plane, but I thought I saw a tweet where Trump actually called Bari Weiss a homely, but effectively homely person, which is like a new thing that he seems to have going on, where he likes to talk about women's looks. He commented on Caitlin Collins from CNN, talks about the fact that she never smiles. She's a beautiful young woman. She never smiles, And the thing I hate about thee things is that nobody ever steps up. There's not a guy there who could say, Mr. President, it's really inappropriate. But they're all terribly afraid of the wrath of Trump for whatever reason. But Bari Weiss, for quite some time now, has sort of broken with reality. And she has become a willing tool of the right. And again, when I'm using these right lefts here, there's nothing conservative about Trump. Okay. Trump is a socialist if it suits him. He is whatever suits him. So when I say right, I really do mean just Trump friendly. And she's become Trump friendly, as have a number of other sort of traditionally left-wing journalists like Matt Taibbi and others. And so I think you need to understand that buying up the media is part of the authoritarian playbook. That's what they're doing. They're buying up media outlets. He's getting his wealthy friends, Larry Ellison certainly among them, to buy up media outlets, and they're going to produce pro-Trump, content on there, and have a really steep pro-Trump slant on the news. And it's just something that you have to deal with. Now, I know a lot of people have alternatives where they get their news from. Hopefully by now, everybody with sense in their head has abandoned Twitter, now known as X, because there's nothing good happening there. Truth Social is obviously a joke. I'm on Threads a fair amount, and I've gone over to Reddit to try to find actual information, but everything has to be sourced and double checked and looked at and examined. You can't take anything at its word anymore. And that probably is true of left-wing media as well as right, although I think left-wing media is getting harder and harder to find. But this is deliberate. It's part of the idea. And, who knows? I don't think Trump is very long for, hopefully not long for the world, but his power base has shrunk. He's still popular among Republicans, very popular among Republicans, but you see cracks. And I think that the MAGA force is a spent force because, they've suffered so many reversals on what had looked like it would be for them promising. So I don't look at this as going on for much longer. Now, the post-Trump world, at some point, Rupert Murdoch is also going to pass on and leave his empire to his children, and at least one of them, and I can't remember the kid's name. He's not a kid. He's older than I am, I think, is more left-leaning than his father was. I mean, I remember, so we were New York Post readers when I was a kid. We got the New York Times in the morning and the Post in the evening, and I knew the kid who delivered it. Sometimes I would sit outside and he would toss the paper right to me and for his 35-cent tip. And I remember as the Post went right-wing during Reagan, after Rupert Murdoch took it over. And I don't know how Rupert Murdoch got to own the New York Post, the Wall Street Journal. I'm not sure if he owns the Washington Times or not, but it's right-wing, and Fox and TV. Like he's crossed over into other media, and there used to be rules against that. I guess there aren't anymore. But I think you need to be really circumspect when it comes to information that you're getting, and make sure that you've got a couple of different outlets that you can sort of trust if you can verify them. And I wouldn't trust anything on its face.
No. I think one of the things we could look at is now Hungary, again, now has a new leader who is right-leaning. And it'll be interesting to see those outlets that Orban got his buddies to purchase and take over, how they're going to be reporting the news now. And let's remember something. No matter how bad you might think Rupert Murdoch is, or any of these, the Ellisons, or any of the rest of them are, the fact is they're in it for the money. They will adjust so that they don't lose viewerships. And if Trump's base starts to diminish, if MAGA starts to thankfully go away, I think you're going to see some shifts in what that reporting is going to look like. Maybe it's going to become a little bit more centrist. I'm not going to say that it's going to become left-leaning in any stretch of imagination because of some of the people that they've got in place. But even the people that they've got in place, if they're not popular, if their ratings drop, and it's all about the money, people. It's all about, the sponsorships and the commercials and things like that. And if that starts to dry up, who knows what it's going to, and it won't matter who owns it, because these guys did not get into this to lose money. They did not come in and say, well, I'm going to hold the line even if I'm losing money. I mean, that's not the way the economics of this works. And I think that that's something we can be very hopeful for. You're always going to have right and left as far as news sources are concerned that, lean one way or the other. I agree. I'm sorry to see 60 Minutes go away. 60 Minutes did a lot of great reporting over the years. They really did. They were hard hitting and they did important work. And I can understand Pelley saying, no, I'm not going to, toe the line on this. I'm not going to falsify stuff because it's a reputation. And that's something we have to remember. When you're looking at the people that are giving you the news, are they true journalists or are they talking heads? Jesse Waters is not a journalist. Sean Hannity is not a journalist. Tucker Carlson is not a journalist. Megyn Kelly is not a journalist. These are not journalists. These are talking heads. Walter Cronkite was a journalist. Dan Rather was a journalist. Even on CNN, I would not consider Anderson Cooper a journalist. But Abby Phillips, I would. So you've got to say, okay, who are the journalists? Who are the talking heads? And the journalists are the people that you've got to really start listening to. And, I like to watch PBS, and they have Brooks and Capehart. And we're beginning to see Brooks has always been a conservative. But you know what? He's beginning to become more centrist now when you start to listen to him. And Capehart, who is definitely, he's on MSN, he's on MS Now as a host. He's beginning to move more toward the center. And I think that if the news outlets that we're watching, and Scott brought up this great thing that they did, I think it was Yale and Stanford. If you turned off Fox for a month, your views began to change. And I think it can change, it can begin to change now if, in fact, the anchors, the real journalists get out there and actually start moving more toward the center.
Yeah, totally agree.
I mean, we are easily influenced. So if the journalists start moving toward the center, we may do the same.
But I will say this. I just came back from Florida. I was in Jacksonville for the first time ever. It's a really nice place. I was in Jacksonville Beach. I don't even know if there is a Jacksonville downtown or anything like that. I've never seen it. But every hotel that we went to a bunch of different hotels to check out, their bars and restaurants and things like that. Every single one had Fox News on TV and TV in the lobby. You go a lot of office buildings that you go to, if there's a TV there, it's on Fox. So, it's very, and look, I mean, I guess they earn it in a way that they pay very close attention to how the ratings do per segment. Mm-hmm. And they know what segments get high viewerships and get high ratings and try to do more of that. I mean, there was a time during the Obama campaign where Fast and Furious was always a headline, Mm-hmm. They milked that as long as they could. And so they know how to appeal to their viewers. My son was visiting my in-laws at the same time. We were down in Florida. They live further down the coast in Hope Sound. And I asked him what they do. And he said, I went down there to hang out with them. But in the evening, they'd retreat into their living room. And they put neck pillows on and they watch Fox News all night long. That's all they do. And he was like, they didn't want to play cards. They didn't want to hang out and chat. They just was like sitting there like, two older people watching Fox and getting angry by it, because it's angertainment.
How did Rory turn out the way she did? I mean, she's like diametrically different.
Yeah, I got her young. She was 21 when we met. So. Give me a young woman. I'll mold her into shape. Couldn't do it now. I'm trying to get her away from being so left wing and so politically active. I was trying to watch the game last night on TV, the Knick game, and she was like sitting next to me playing podcasts on her phone. I was like, come on, just give me a break with the politics for one night. It's game one. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, what happens after this? I mean, we'll have to see. But follow the money. Guys, just follow the money. They're not going to put out a product that does not get viewership. And that's really all there is to it. And if the MAGA base begins to fade away, which we can only hope for, they're going to adjust, because it's a business. It was always a business. It truly was. But business at one time, during the times of Cronkite, during the times of Rather, during the times of the older times, Edward R. Murrow, it was still a business, but news came first. And these people that were journalists, and there were some really great journalists, they built up a reputation. And that was their brand. Right now, it has very little to do with the reputation of the person making the presentation. It has to do with what is being presented. Is it confirmation bias? Is it in your little echo chamber? Are they telling you what you want to hear? I don't think they, and then, of course, that's where people say, Jesse Waters is reputable. Not because of the information he gives, as far as its credibility, but he's telling you what they want to hear. And that's how they base it upon. And if Jesse Waters was to turn over a new leaf tomorrow, which I doubt he could possibly do, and start being left wing, you'd be surprised how many people would follow along with him.
I don't know if people would follow someone along like that if he suddenly changed. I was thinking about when like Joseph Goebbels tried to get the German public roused to the same type of fervor that he was able to when speaking about blaming the Jewish people for everything, and he couldn't do it. And when Trump tried to get the public excited in the same way to either wear masks or get a vaccine or something, and people began to boo him, and Trump backed down right away. Oh, okay, you know, you don't have to. So I'm not sure if the public really would suddenly follow someone who changed the dynamic all of a sudden. If the person began to kind of express doubts, you know, the way Joe Rogan has and some other people have, I don't know if they've lost their viewership. I think some people probably have stopped watching them because they've stopped supporting Trump, but other people who have also stopped guzzling the Flavor Aid would start watching Joe Rogan, and other people who have also stopped poisoning themselves. So that's an interesting question. People who manage to break away from a cult would want to be associated with others who have broken away, because then you find other people who are like you. So that's an interesting question. But I don't know if there's really, beyond, as you say, Mark, the money, to going back to the way we were before. I don't know. It's so complex. It's an interesting question.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Scott Gershworth, and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening!